Good afternoon and welcome everyone to the Gainesville CRA's virtual advisory board meeting. It is now 5:31 on Wednesday, August 19th, 2020. This evening, we only have two items on the agenda. We will have board member and public comments on the agenda items only. We won't be taking any general public comment or board members tonight. And it's basically in order for us to get through the agenda quickly and not have everyone belabored long this evening on the call. And we definitely would like to encourage everyone to keep their comments to the agenda item under 3 minutes. All right, so we're going to go ahead and have roll call. We must do roll call and even votes. All votes and everything we do tonight has to be done by a roll call vote. So it might take a little bit more time, but that's the way we need to do it for these meetings. So Tricia, you want to go ahead and do our roll call?
Okay, Member Braben.
Present.
Member Atkins-Tufts is unable to be here. Member Blount. Member Bush.
Present.
Member Dixon.
Present.
Member Fox.
Here.
Member Grundy Gomez.
Present.
Member Idy.
Present.
Member Merritt.
Present.
Member Mitchell.
Present.
Member Palmer.
Here.
Chair Paula is unable to be here tonight. Member Seawright.
Here.
And Member Turner Evans. Okay, so we have a quorum. Mhm.
Question, Tricia. Was I counted for last meeting?
You were, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Our next thing is we're going to
Member
go ahead and
Nielsen
adopt it.
is, sorry, I
Okay.
believe Member Nielsen's trying to talk, but he's on mute.
Oh,
I'm not sure if he was counted.
He was counted, yes.
Okay.
Okay, but you're, we still can't hear you, but. Okay.
okay. All right, so we're going to go ahead and adopt the agenda. You can please look at the agenda that was sent to you. If you have any changes, would you like to let us know now? Okay, if not, can I get a motion to approve the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and properly second. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposition?
Aye.
Oh, I'm sorry. Wait a minute. Never mind. I just said we have to have a roll call vote for everything. So sorry about that, Tricia. Go ahead.
Okay, Member Braben.
Aye.
Member Bush.
Aye.
Member Dixon.
Aye.
Member Fox.
Aye.
Member Grundy Gomez.
Aye.
Member Idy.
Aye.
Member Merritt. Member Mitchell.
Aye.
Member Nielsen.
Aye.
Member Palmer.
Aye.
Member Seawright.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, motion passed. All right. We're going to go on to our next item. It is the approval of the July 21st advisory board minutes. Do any board members wish to make any changes or have any comments on those minutes? Seeing none, can we get a motion to approve the minutes of July 21st?
So moved.
Second.
Seconded.
Get a second?
Sorry, who was the seconder?
Carrie Bush.
Oh, okay, sorry.
There's a couple of us, I think.
Okay. That's-
Okay, roll call.
okay, Member Braben.
Aye.
Member Bush.
Aye.
Member Dixon.
Aye.
Member Fox.
Aye.
Member Grundy Gomez.
Aye.
Member Idy.
Aye.
Member Merritt.
Aye.
Member Mitchell.
Aye.
Member Nielsen.
Aye.
Member Palmer,
Aye.
Member Seawright.
Aye.
This might go quick.
Yep,
Okay.
we're getting it down.
All right, so that approval of minutes is passed. So next we're going to have a communications report from our Director Sarah Vidal with regards to Gainesville Cares.
Good evening, everybody. Good to see you all. Can everyone hear okay? I'm hearing feedback. Okay, perfect. Yeah. So I just wanted to give you an update on Gainesville Cares, and this is as of 8/17, so it's moving forward. The city has received approximately 266 grant requests. Of that, 140 were eligible, 126 ineligible. Right now, we are looking at about 30 to 35 located within the GCRA district. There are a few that are still being worked on, to finalize the paperwork. Our staff is actually working hard on entering in payment for all the approved business grants, and the goal is to have the majority of them paid out as soon as possible. Currently, let's see, we've entered 26 grants for the CRA funding totaling $130,000 from the GCRA fund, 55 grants totaling $275,000 from the City of Gainesville General Fund. And then there are about 20 remaining grants still waiting to be processed. So that's a good update. Things are moving along, and it looks like this September or October, there are a group of us that will be going back before the City Commission, and we'll ask to bring the presentation here as well to download on the whole program, basically the pluses and minuses about the program, as we've experienced so far and heard from people in the community. There is, if you remember as well, a 90-day window by which any of these grant recipients will be circling back with us to kind of let us know how the grant helped them in very specific ways for us to kind of gauge the efficacy of this program. So I just wanted to keep you all up to date, of where we are in that. We certainly won't go through the amount of money that was originally proposed for that. So it'll be interesting to kind of find out, how the commission feels about the program and, how we can best support these small, local, diverse businesses moving forward. One thing we've talked about internally as a group is kind of using the original list of applicants to try to circle back to zero in on kind of what are the challenges facing businesses more, I guess we can call this long-term now. None of us really know how long this will go, and what the overall effect will be on the economy and the small businesses in town. So I would say one of the positive things about this whole effort is that we've been in communication with a ton of small businesses in town, and we'll be able to stay in contact with them and kind of monitor, what the ongoing needs are moving forward. So we'll continue to provide updates on this, but that's where we are as of this week. And thank you so much.
Okay, does anyone have any questions? Any board members have any questions? I think you have to raise your hand. Okay, no hands raised. I do have one question, Sarah. So the CRA Gainesville Cares Act money is just going towards businesses?
Yes, and only businesses located within the district.
Okay. Thank you. And did you all, you all didn't have any problems? First of all, I'd like to applaud you because I think y'all do an amazing job, and I do know a couple of people who have been have received some grant funding from you. But I'm interested in finding out how you've been able to get it going, get it started, get the applicants, and get people out and get people paid. That is remarkable because I know everybody's not been able to do that. So I just want to commend you on that because I know people have been speaking very highly of how easy the process was for them to come through the CRA and get the grant money. So I did want to say that. Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that feedback. I appreciate it. We don't get to hear much feedback yet, so it's nice that you shared that. I'll pass that along to the team.
Okay. So I guess now we're ready. If no one, let me see. Wait, I'm sorry. Armando has his hand raised. Go ahead,
thank
Mr.
you.
Member Grundy.
Yes. Sarah, is there a way we can put out information to the public, and since this is being recorded, so that they have information of where they can have access to that, where it would be, and the second part of my question would be, Sarah or any member of staff, is there any restrictions of any types of businesses that do not qualify for this type of funding?
So the program's no longer receiving applications, Armando. Yeah, so there's really not a central location for information on kind of where the process is now. As far as an update, I'll take that comment back to the group, because I think it would be good as part of the wrap up of this program to have some kind of press release, or something that covers the amount of money that was invested and the amount of businesses that received the grants. And I'm sure there are some good stories that'll bubble up out of this effort as well. As I mentioned, we haven't really received feedback because we've been in the trenches of just trying to move the applications forward and get the money out. So this is certainly not the end of the story. I'll continue to give you an update next month. And then, like I said, we'll be returning with a larger overall presentation to the commission that I'll request come to the board as well. So
Thank you much.
you're so welcome.
Anyone else? Let me look. All right, that is it. So we'll go ahead and move forward with our first item. And I think it's the CRA housing opportunities. I guess that's being presented by Sarah and Chelsea.
All right, well, thank you, Ms. Seawright. I'm happy to be back. I'm gonna start with a recap of what we talked about last month. Let me do a quick screen share so you can see our program. Sorry, I thought I had this at the start. Okay. All right. So again, I'm just going to give a quick recap of the last month discussion and talk about some reports I've looked at since that are site specific to both Porters and Pleasant Street neighborhoods. And then at the end of the presentation, my presentation, Sarah and Lee Feldman, the city manager, will talk about 2 other infill housing opportunities that the CRA can be part of. So after our discussion, I went ahead and looked at the neighborhoods as community assets guide the Porters community had put together. And I came up with this list of top neighborhood concerns based on your feedback and this report. And they were homebuyer education. More local residents need to know what they need to get together in order to buy a home and maintain a home. Maintaining neighborhood identity and architectural compatibility was important to kind of do this in order to maintain the look of the Porters neighborhood. And this includes keeping it so it's still distinguishable from both Innovation District and the downtown neighborhoods. Another concern was the need for owner-occupied homes, specifically long-term owner-occupied homes. And the last top concern was gentrification. There's also some concern that I, in the report, noted that infill housing projects done by cities, sometimes there's concern by residents that they cause gentrification. So I think as we move forward with the Porters infill housing project, this is something we need to be especially cognizant of as we move forward with the project and who and how we're implementing that. But if any of you are interested, this is a great report. I suggest you all take a look. All right, so the Pleasant Street infill housing opportunity, the top neighborhood concerns, I took both from, again, your feedback and this Live Work Gainesville CRA Pleasant Street Historic Neighborhood Report, which was done specifically to the lot we are looking at in the Pleasant Street neighborhood. And the top neighborhood concerns are very similar to that of Porters, included homebuyer outreach and education. So along with education, advertising and communicating maybe through campaigns or even door-to-door mailings, letting people know, hey, these new infill homes might be for sale if you're interested in purchasing, or you know someone within the neighborhood already who's interested in purchasing. Authentic design was also a neighborhood concern. Maintaining the tree canopy of the neighborhood, which goes along with authentic design as well, because that maintains the character of the street. And maintaining the tree canopy also means that we're going to be building smaller homes, and the smaller homes also allows for long-term affordability and just more variety of what we can build. And the last concern that was brought up mostly by the board, where a few members here, was parking and connectivity. First, the houses need to connect with the assets already in the community, such as the local businesses, churches, Santa Fe. There has to be available parking, especially as Santa Fe continues to expand their campus. There needs to be parking available for the residents in the area, so it's not overtaken by people going just for the college. And it's also important that these homes have access to local RTS sites, RTS stops. I researched 2 homebuyer education programs currently available in the county. And these are put on by our own Housing and Community Development Office, and then the nonprofit group Neighborhood Housing and Development Corporation. Even with COVID, we can still do these workshops because all these workshops are online. I need to talk with Trisha, but after this meeting, we'll be putting these on our website just to kind of get the word out there even more for anyone just navigating around our website to learn more about these opportunities. I wanted to talk a little bit about the neighborhood concern of maintaining the neighborhood identity. I'm sure some of you are already aware. We might have talked about it in the past, I'm not sure, but the city has just began implementing an equity toolkit, which was published by the Government Alliance on Racial Equity. It's pretty much a worksheet with a series of questions that policy and projects can be applied to look at specific issues of racial equity, how we're maintaining that. And that also ties in with neighborhood engagement. And neighborhood engagement. So since things are a little bit different now, we're definitely a different situation, we want to create a neighborhood engagement plan for this project that still reaches people. And so these are some online engagement tools we've done some research on. Mailing surveys might also be an option to get the neighborhood engaged as we move forward with these projects. And then another aspect of maintaining the neighborhood identity is future affordability, permanent affordability, so that residents and the children of residents already in the neighborhood can stay in the neighborhood. Demographics don't have to change. They can purchase the homes, which is an important aspect of maintaining the culture and identity of any neighborhood when you maintain the demographics of that neighborhood. So I also want to go a little bit over the draft Housing Community Development Affordable Housing Action Plan. The plan draft objectives for that, and this could change, are to add new and expand existing funding sources, increase zoning flexibility, and then promote permanent affordability. So we want to apply this project and other infill projects as much as we can with the strategies of this action plan. And the one that we fit in most would be to promote permanent affordability. So this will be a big objective as we move forward with both the Porters and Pleasant Street projects. Next step for these projects will be to develop a project-specific working group. This will include myself, other departments, and a consultant. And after we get that group together, we want to clearly identify project goals based on community concerns. And the way we will continue to gauge what the community concerns are will be obviously through community engagement. So we'll create a community engagement plan which we'll bring to you, and a project timeline. So the next time you'll hear me come back and speak with you about this will probably be in a few months once we have these projects identified, and we'll have something more meaty and specific for you to comment on at that time. And finally, the fourth step will be what Sarah and Lee will be talking about next. That will be to continue identifying additional opportunities to leverage GCRI funds for affordable housing in the district. I'll give the time now to Sarah, and she'll talk a little bit about a infill project in the Duval neighborhood.
Question, Madam Chair.
Go ahead, Armando.
Should we just wait and hold for comments?
Let's wait till we get to the whole presentation done, and then I'll get all the questions at
Yeah,
once.
that's what I was going to ask. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
All right, good evening, everyone, again. So I'm excited to be part of this presentation tonight about an opportunity in the Duval neighborhood. And you've probably heard about this opportunity. Go ahead and advance the slide for me, Chelsea. Thank you so much. So before we get into that opportunity, I wanted to go back to the consolidated plan a little bit and just kind of reorient the group. One of the interesting things, looking back at the plan, if you remember, we kind of geographically located the areas, the priority areas for affordable housing and community enhancements. And so you'll see those as represented as the circles on this map. And one of the biggest areas that was identified, and we knew about this, was the Duval neighborhood, right? And providing more opportunities for affordable housing in that neighborhood. And it's interesting when you read through the plan again, under affordable housing developments, we talk about not only acting as a developer, but coordinating with the private sector and partnering with other governmental agencies and departments to make affordable housing options happen, because we've acted in many of those different roles before. And so before we close out this presentation tonight, we're going to present you with two more opportunities. One that I will go into will need your review and support. And so we'll kind of end on that recommendation, but the city manager also has a new exciting opportunity to discuss at the end. So before I finish, I'll be turning the microphone, if you will, over to the city manager to close this out, and then we'll all be available for questions. So go ahead and advance to the next slide, please. Thanks so much. So y'all may know this area of Duval as the Booker T. Washington Heights area of Duval. And as you can see on this map, you can see 12 lots that are available and that the commission has approved to donate to a nonprofit affordable housing developer. So it's 2 lots in a 6-block area. One thing I will mention is that housing is on the line. I think we have 3 employees from the Housing and Community Development Department, John Wachtel, Helen Harris, and Femetta Lewis. We have been working actually on a working group with them as well, and a few others, trying to consolidate all of these efforts to pursue affordable housing. And it's been great to work together. They are actually approved to go forward with a solicitation for these 12 lots. So the one issue that they have on this potential project is along Northeast 9th Avenue. And if you can kind of go there in your mind, and Chelsea, if you'll flip to the next slide, Public Works provided another map which shows the area that we're speaking about along Northeast 9th Avenue. And I think it runs from 16th Terrace to Northeast 17th Drive. And 5 of the 12 lots included in this project are what we call paper streets. So there's no improved roadway, which obviously limits their development potential. And so we were contacted to see about participation in this project for the CRA to be able to fund this infrastructure project in order to make all 12 lots buildable and affordable or available for affordable housing. And so we worked with an internal team, and I wanted to give a shout out not only to the Housing and Community Development Department, but also to the Public Works Department. Brian Singleton's on with us tonight. He provided cost estimating and a description of the work that would need to take place in order for this improved roadway project to happen. So there would be a little bit of acquisition necessary, some engineering and permitting, and then of course the construction. If the public works crews are available, we might be able to save some money that way with in-house crews, but this $240,000 not to exceed amount is the total that we're looking at for CRA participation in this project. Next slide. Okay, that was it.
Okay.
So that was quick. You can see our recommendation here, and what I'll do at this time, I'll be available for questions. We also have Public Works available if there are any technical questions, and Housing and Community Development if there are questions regarding the solicitation. We think that this potential project supports our reinvestment plan and would help this project go a long way towards making 12 lots available for affordable housing. So with that, I will turn it over to the city manager, Lee Feldman. He has an exciting potential opportunity, and it's actually between Cornerstone and Heartwood. So you can kind of think of the wooded area that's just to the east of the GTech building back in there. There's a signed LOI, and it will be going forward, I don't know when, to the commission, but before I try to give you any more information, I'll turn it over to City Manager Feldman to close us out with this exciting opportunity, and then we'll be back for questions.
Thank you, Sarah. So Tricia, I don't know if you can allow me to share my screen, but I can call up the parcel if you do.
Yep, you should be able to share your screen.
Okay, let me.
Nope, not yet. Okay. Let's see. Maybe I can't. Okay. Yeah, I think it's on my side.
Okay.
There are firewall issues. So I think Sarah was able to describe the property pretty precisely. If you're familiar with GTech, there is about a 4-acre wooded lot that the city owns just to the directly to the west of that. We have been in discussions with a group from South Florida called Housing Trust Group. They are the largest developer of affordable housing in the state of Florida and one of the largest in the country. And we have entered into a letter of intent with them to, yep, you can see it on the screen here from Brian. It's the one that's marked MSD BK to PG 62. And that's a wooded lot that's off of 8th Avenue, just to the west of GTech. So it's a little over 4 acres in size. It has a GRU power line easement on the south.
Yeah.
And has, we don't think any native trees that need to be preserved, but a tree survey will need to be done as part of the due diligence on that. There may be some wetlands on there. But the intent of the Housing Trust Group, or also known as HTG, will be to place 84 affordable housing units in a multifamily development on that property. And that would all meet our definition of affordable using the AMI calculations. And so we are in the process right now of negotiating a purchase and sale agreement with them that we would have to bring to the City Commission for approval. They would be seeking from the city, and we would need to identify the source of the funds, the local government match for the housing tax credit process that they will be applying for. But we're pretty excited about the opportunity of providing some affordable housing right next to what will be an employment center for the city. This is a result of the modification that the City Commission made several months ago to our land disposition policy, which allows us to entertain proposals from affordable housing developers on city tracts of land that ultimately the City Commission will vote on whether they want to move forward or not. But if you recall the discussion last month, and I think this was a question from Armando, if we're going to address the affordable housing problem within the city, we're going to need to do it on all different fronts, whether it's single family or multifamily, whether it's inclusionary zoning or getting rid of exclusionary zoning practices. So this is just one step in a multitude of steps that we will be undertaking. So I wanted to make sure this doesn't have any direct involvement of the CRA other than it's in the CRA boundaries and it's adjacent to a CRA project, but wanted to make you all aware of it so that as you're making other considerations, you know that this is out there as well. And when the chair opens it up for questions, I'll be here to take any.
Okay, is anybody else for the staff? Is that everything for presentation, Sarah? All right, anyone, board members have any questions? And please raise your hand. And the way it's set up is when you raise your hand, it already puts you in order. So I'm not picking anybody randomly. So I don't see any hands though. No one has any questions about anything? Armando, okay. Armando, a member.
Yeah, I did, but I was going to wait.
Gomez.
I was waiting, Madam Chair.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
So a couple things. Mr. Manager, I have a few questions. So I appreciate you addressing the concerns that I raised last time. And I think the contention about addressing this is when we had the commissioner also present. And I think things got lost in the shuffle about addressing them, but I appreciate you addressing it just now and providing clarity. But the concern about addressing it on all fronts, where you even said it last meeting, Mr. Manager, was we're not going to address it by building single family dwellings alone to address affordable housing. It's going to be a mixture of things. So mixed use development, highly dense, and especially building density in our urban core. The thing, Mr. Manager, that I'm still concerned with, even though there's really nothing for us to do, it is within our boundaries, but this is where I want to ask you, because I still it wasn't really addressed to me by the member of the commission. I'm concerned that things will get conflated with what our goals are, why we were designed, why we were brought together as a unified body was to address, urban blight and urban decay. And I know that the flavor of the month, and it seems to be, is affordable housing. Everything is affordable housing. I get it. What I am concerned about is that we also have people that we could build all this affordable housing, and if people don't have great jobs to afford all this great, nice, affordable housing, we're not doing what we're designed to do, which is to bring economic development and urban blight. So, Mr. Manager, if you could help clarify, because I was trying to get it, it seems like the commission, and I don't know if staff is guiding it this way, or it seems to be that's what it's leading to. What is going to be our focus? Because it seems like we're everywhere but where we're supposed to be, of what we're designed to be, of wanting to do everything. And there's plenty of people that do that. I mean, we have members from housing on here, but I'm not hearing what we're designed to do, which is to bring economic development. And so my concern has been not tangential, not casting aspersions. And I was hoping to hear that from the commissioner last meeting, but it just seems like we are losing sight and focus on what we're designed to do, and that is to address economic development, especially within this sphere of COVID-19. And Madam Chair, I know you want us to be brief, but my question is complex. So I want to let him answer it, and then if I have a follow-up, Madam Chair, if I could, I'd appreciate it.
Okay, Mr. Feldman.
So let me try to address it this way because I think you're absolutely right. The discussion needs to be more than affordable housing. And I see that Commissioner Simmons is on the call, so she certainly can chime in if I'm misspeaking the intent of the commission in this regard. So recently, the commission adopted a strategic plan. Matter of fact, it was on August 6th this month, and that was after many months worth of work. And they identified top and high priorities. And let me go over those for you right now, because I think it's important that you understand the context of all the work that we're going to be doing over the next months and years as we move forward. So the commission basically identified 5 top priorities. And those top priorities are to develop a city racial equity policy and plan, to identify and develop a comprehensive city public health policy and strategy and action plan, to address or create an affordable housing strategy, to do a downtown master plan and development standards, and community policing and use of force and some other stuff relating to GPD. Now they're high priorities, okay? And there's a subtle distinction between top and high, but these are all things that my staff and GRU have been now charged with developing and working on using our groups like advisory boards and plan boards and the such. So the high priorities now deal with food desert elimination action plan. And this one, I think, speaks specifically to what the point you were raising, to develop a Gainesville East incentivized development plan. That's the economic development for East Gainesville. To do our environmental goal of 100% renewable energy, to deal with exclusionary zoning, our Vision Zero plan, a homeless city action plan, community broadband, and community engagement program enhancements. Now that's a lot of things to do. Right. And they're not all going to be done at the same time with the same effort, and some of them are going to need additional resources and all, but the commission really focused on that these are the areas that they want us to work on there. So now it's going to be up to us and you all to start developing plans. So as you're working on the CRA plan and the money that's available in the GCRA, my challenge to you all would be, how are your programs going to fit within these priorities there? And that's really going to be key to create the synergy of making this all work. And it's not going to be easy work.
Mr. Manager,
sure.
The concern that I have, and we need to look at a historical basis. All of those things that you just listed are extremely important, but you know this is what it creates confusion, not just to us as well, I'm gonna speak for myself, for me as a board member, but even my friends and neighbors within my community. People speak about this district and this sector of town, especially within East Gainesville, like it's a monolith. And for an example, you know, East Gainesville is more than just Porters. It's more than just Duval Heights. And there are friends and neighbors of mine, whether in Lincoln Estates and North Lincoln Heights, all over this district. And none of what I'm hearing from y'all, and this is what's confusing, we're not hearing anything about how we're going to attract, you know, people that we need to grow our economy, especially when you know and I know, Mr. Manager, we're about to take a major hit in this economy, and you're about to hit a major budget shortfall. And our job is to address economic development in a very effectual way. And to go back and hearken to what you said a few months ago when we were meeting in person, you said we have a bunch of money to work with. Do we want to go big or do we want to go home? And it seems that we've lost focus and we're going on everything but what we're supposed to be. And I get that the city has all those goals, but it seems like when it comes to our area and our community, they go big on certain sides of town. They go big over when it comes to Cheesecake Factory and Butler Plaza, and with us, we get scraps, and we're not giving our best. And so that's my frustration with the commission. That's my frustration, not with so much with staff, because your job is to take direction from them, but it causes confusion. And I just wish our commission would start focusing on the effectual change of bringing economic development for quality of life for people that really deserve and need it, but they're focusing on everything else and touch and feel good, but not bringing economic development. And it's extremely frustrating. Very.
Okay, if I may say something before you, Mr. Feldman, excuse me. And I don't disagree with some of Member Grande Gomez's comments, but I think we're getting into a city commission agenda, and we want to stay focused on what we have here on the CRA agenda right now. So I will give you a few minutes, Mr. Feldman, because I know you want to respond. But after you respond, I want to go on because I want us to stay focused on what we're doing here tonight. And a lot of those things that you're talking about, Armando, which I don't disagree with you, but I don't think this is the setting for all of that. We need to discuss what we're talking about is the CRA. And so we can come back and if later on, if we want to do something as a group to address the city commission, and that might be something for discussion. But right now, I want to go up. So Mr. Feldman, did you have something?
30 seconds. So
okay.
I just want to, again, emphasize that one of the top priorities of the commission is that East Side economic development, establishing that program so that we can create jobs, we can properly utilize land that's on the East Side. That is one of their top priorities. And Commissioner Simmons actually fought pretty hard to make sure that it was a priority for the commission. And it is more than Porter's and Greater Duval. It is Lincoln Heights, Lincoln Estates. It's what, depends how you define the East Side, I've learned over here, but it's pretty much everything that you and I have talked about in terms of, how do we get better opportunities, better jobs, better economics on the East Side, because a rising tide is going to lift all boats. And that's sort of the philosophy, is that we can't leave one neighborhood behind on there. And so from the airport down to our southern boundary, okay, all the way over into what I would classify to be the the downtown fringes. I mean, to me, that's the East Side, and that's what the commission says that in their top priority they want us working on. Okay, and so they didn't just say, we want something for this neighborhood or that neighborhood. They said economic development on the East Side. So that is their priority, and they have realized and addressed it. And as the chair said, maybe that's a bigger conversation that the GCRA advisory board has to have with the commission, but it is on their radar screen and on there, and they want to be pretty aggressive about it, as well as being aggressive on a whole bunch of other issues.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Member Palmer.
Hi, I think the Porter stuff looks pretty good so far. I'm excited to see how that plan develops. I had a couple questions about the new affordable housing that the new acquisition, I guess, we're working with. One of the things that I guess I wanted to know, what the adjacent parcels also city owned, the things next to, not the G-Tech side, the other side that's also the large chunk of woods?
Are you talking to the west of the city property that I talked about?
Yes, that's correct.
No, those are privately owned.
Okay. I guess I wanted to, it's almost echoing kind of what Armando says. I'm a little hesitant that, building such a high concentration of affordable housing is kind of going to do the opposite of what I think we're hoping to accomplish on the east side of Gainesville. If we're looking to attract different types of businesses that might be, that might typically locate on the west side of Gainesville, they're going to be using, they're not going to be looking at anything other than general statistics as far as housing, or as far as, income and stuff like that around there. And if we put another higher concentration of what would be considered low income earners, that's going to lower the overall metrics that different businesses might be using that would potentially locate on this side of on that side of town. I think that would probably be one of my biggest concerns as far as how do we develop the more of the types of businesses that we would like to see. Armando brings up things like a Publix or a Whole Foods. They're just going to straight up look at basic broad numbers that have nothing to do with the actual humans who live in the area. And so I worry that too much affordable house, or not necessarily affordable, but too high of a concentration will create a harder barrier for those businesses to overcome. I mean, that private parcel next door, I think if there's ways to attract that, the problem is it's private, but yeah, I'd love to hear opinions on that, or just generally voice that concern.
So we had the same concern, Michael, that, and we kicked that around from staff because actually this developer wanted to look at more parcels on there. We said, you can't have too much of a concentration of product, but the problem is if you want to say on the west side of town, we don't have the land available to put in to the equation. And so then you are left to the open market on there. And can they find a willing seller at a price that works in order to put that type of product there? And the answer is no. And we're not giving away this land. Hopefully they're not listening to this meeting, but they're paying higher than appraised value for the property on there. And so, the problem is you can't just, wish the product to go wherever. It's got to go where there's the opportunity. On there.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. I think that's good. One thing I'd like to at least hope people could be cognizant of is when we're looking at this is how might we bring in, I mean, maybe Heartwood is a good example that might bring in, some higher income earners. It might also be good if some of those adjacent parcels, or if there was some incentivization for that. I think it's very important I've seen it work in some other cities around the world where there's a lot, the higher income houses are interspersed with low income, and after a while it just becomes standard that everybody is, interspersed.
Well, Portland just did away with single family zoning a week and a half ago. That basically says any single family product can go anywhere where you can put it. So that's going to be interesting to follow in the coming months on there. The commission's on first reading is going to be looking at an accessory dwelling unit ordinance on tomorrow night for first reading, and then also a single family or single SRO. Got the acronym all messed up, but an SRO ordinance that basically will allow smaller units to exist. And so the idea is that you can create different product elsewhere in the city on there. That goes back to the whole discussion about exclusionary zoning and making sure that our zoning code does not preclude the opportunity for putting different product elsewhere in the city. But right now I got 4 acres and I got a developer that wants to help us address the affordable housing issue.
Thank you. We have Member Dixon.
Hi, thank you. I've got 2 questions, both of them about the Duval project. First is on the fiscal note. I see the fiscal note in our packet. And can you help me, I guess this is staff, Sarah, or whoever, help me understand, you say we've got $240,000 budgeted, but help me understand how much of a chunk is that out of that Fund 620?
There.
Yep, sure. So I would have to circle back with you on that. I don't have the budget information handy, but I could have it probably by the end of the meeting. So Yeah, I don't know the balance in that specific account, but the $240,000 is available, if the board desires to move this project forward, and then I will work on that and get back to you and look it up.
All right. I think that kind of information would be helpful for us, and as we're just getting started and kind of getting familiar with what the budget is and what the project options are. And that's kind of my other, it's a question and or comment. And it's, I think kind of building on Armando's comments. As I look at this project, there's a lot I like about it. I generally like public works projects, and I think, making those lots available and accessible for development of housing. I spent some time, I didn't drive over there, but I looked on Google Maps and I can see, one of them is part of a dirt road, and I could see where there could be some enhancement in that neighborhood. But I just question, how is this project, how does it prioritize relative to other projects we might consider? And I'm not sure we've ever finished that conversation from when we did the the plan document. And we talked a few times about criteria and what criteria we would use to evaluate projects. And it would be nice to see that. I know you had something in the plan document, and I always commented, I felt like we needed to flesh that out a little more. But even to bring that criteria that we have back with the project proposal, because I just don't know, if we choose this, what future choice are we not going to be able to make? And are we going to have a chance to have a conversation about all the projects that we might want to fund over the first 1 to 3 years, or are we just going to get project proposals from staff piecemeal? Kind of just trying to understand again, kind of how we're going to work.
Yeah, I appreciate those comments, Linda. I think what you all need and what we've been anxious to bring back is an overall summary of kind of where we are, what's been accomplished since the plan consolidation and the roadmap forward. And so we are working on that for you for next month, for you and the City Commission. So I think that'll give you a really good overall picture of kind of where we are and what we're trying to achieve, through that consolidated plan. And this is an opportunity that we were made aware of, through our partners within the city, and it met the criteria of the plan and kind of what we were looking to do. As I mentioned earlier, I think in the plan, it was important to define that we're not going to be the one department that will solve, the affordable housing problem in Gainesville, but that we can be used in various ways, either as a developer or our funding to help incentivize projects like this, or not like this, but other affordable housing projects, and or helping contribute to opportunities like this that are within the target area. So anything that would be brought back to you would meet the criteria set forth in the plan. But you're right, we do owe you kind of an update of where we are and what our objectives are moving forward. I can tell you the only other active housing projects that we have are the two that we covered in this presentation right now. But in working with the Housing and Community Development Department and kind of our internal working group, we're starting to learn of more, opportunities that become available. So it'll be our job to bring those back to you in an organized way so we can, decide priority wise. But the priorities do exist in our plan within those, I think it was 5 areas that were noted within the plan, and that's really where we're focusing.
Okay. Is that good, Ms. Dixon?
Yeah, I guess I'm just kind of struggle a little bit with the priorities in the plan versus specific projects. And I know you did make a good point in your presentation of showing that housing and the target areas, and it was consistent with the plan in that way. But again, I think thinking about priorities and then drilling down to projects is kind of a second step.
Okay. Member Bush.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I've had some similar kind of comments that Linda just shared in terms of maybe it would be helpful, Sarah, as you all work to kind of bring back that broader perspective to the board for us to revisit that. I remember that there was in the planning process a chart kind of showing, do you want to bond a lot up front and, kind of step down the funding, so do big projects right up front and put a lot of money towards it. And, how do you want your funding allocations over the time period? And I think that visual or that kind of concept might be useful to bring back as we talk about the prioritization of these projects and kind of what to expect going forward, because I kind of had a similar reaction. I wasn't sure, if this proposal to spend $240,000 on the road development there, how that relates to that overall picture. And my question, if this might be more for City Manager Feldman, is related to the affordable housing units. You mentioned that at this point in time, there was going to be, really just this was GCRA, kind of adjacent. It's not directly a GCRA project, but I'm wondering if you anticipate requesting any funding come from the GCRA, either for that local match or otherwise.
If GCRA wanted to provide the local match, I'm not going to turn it down on there, but it wasn't my intent to ask GCRA's budget to make that local match.
Okay, thank you. I just wanted to be clear about that in terms of what to expect, because, and the only other comment I'll make on that one is the density, the density of the project in that particular parcel, just to consider kind of the opportunity cost for that parcel. So by, placing something there now, that restricts future development, obviously, of that 4-acre parcel. And with GTEC, kind of the vision for GTEC being more of an economic hub, transportation hub, all of those things, there's an opportunity cost to build, right adjacent to GTEC if we in fact are going to go all in making it that multi-use kind of hub that's been envisioned.
Right, and we looked at that concept as well. So as you know, we're still trying to identify a developer for the other pad on there, and then it just becomes an issue of weighing opportunity against opportunity, future opportunity versus current opportunity, and that ultimately becomes the policy decision that has to be effectuated and considered. And that's why I'm trying to make sure as many of our advisory boards and partners out there know what's going on. So if there are concerns, that they can be addressed earlier than later on it. I'd hate to have an item go before the city commission and get something approved, and then somebody raises an issue like, well, we've always thought that the property would be used for X, now you're using it for Y. I'm trying to create as much transparency on there as possible, so that if there are specific considerations that this advisory board wants the commission to consider, that you have an opportunity to raise them.
Thank you.
All right, so I have 2 other board members, but they've already spoken. So what I'm going to do is first I'm going to pivot back over to our director, Sarah Vidal, because she has her answer for Member Dixon. Then I'm going to allow Member Gomez and Member Palmer to both say a few words, and then we're going to end it and move on. Okay, and move on with the agenda. Okay, Sarah.
I just wanted to circle back on the fiscal note. So that's $240,000 of the $540,000 available in the property acquisitions and options account. And Daniel can correct me if I'm incorrect, because I can see the dollar amount, but I don't have the chart that tells me which account that's from, working from my home computer. So, but that's just the balance from this fiscal year, Linda, which ends end of September. So that doesn't include any already budgeted funding for FY21. So hopefully that helps give you an idea.
And you said acquisitions, the agenda says community enhancements and housing.
Correct.
Yeah, I think that was incorrect. And I'm sorry, I'm talking to Daniel back and forth. So if he could just double check, because it was my understanding that this was from the new funds.
So I'm going to jump in real quick.
Okay, thank you.
The way our accounting system has set this up is we have buckets of funding, and this bucket of funding is the community enhancements and housing initiatives, which under our budget that the board approved included the property acquisitions and options portion. So there were two pieces. That was one of the two pieces that is inside of this bucket. So that's why you're seeing this name attached to it as community enhancements and housing initiatives, because that's the name that's been assigned by our finance side.
Okay. All
Thank
right.
you I was going to just add, sorry, one more thing here, if I may. Thank you for clarifying, Daniel. So one thing we'll go over next month is the accounting side of things, and we won't get deep into it, but in becoming a city department, we actually had to set up a whole new system of accounts for the new roadmap. And so one of the things that you're kind of hearing is the tension of having a budget that was the same for many, many, many years. And we now have kind of two pockets of money, if you will, you know, the old TIF funding and then the new GCRA funds. And so we'll go over that next month as well in the update, you know, just showing you how that's organized now, which is different than how we previously budgeted. So anyway, if you can tell some of the confusion, it's because we're still getting used to these new account names. So thanks for your patience with that.
Okay, so first we're going to have member Grundy Gomez, and then we're going to have Mr. Palmer. If we have any members of the public who wish to speak on this, then you need to raise your hand if you're on the computer. If you're on the phone, if you down 9, that will raise the hand for me, and then we'll be able to see it. All right, so member Grundy Gomez.
Madam Chair, I just had a process question for you before I ask the question. You heard a couple of our members already. They were asking questions, and I guess for me, it's about process. And if some of us on the board are asking to vote for something when we have not come together, and we're trying to ask questions to flesh out things that might be confusing, I have a problem with wanting to vote on something where there's still things that are lingering or confusing. And so I know we want to move and rush quickly, but I also don't want to just move to rush and vote on something and we're not getting questions answered and there's still questions lingering. So that's just a process question, because I know you're wanting to limit discussion, but I'm just concerned about that.
Sure, I don't have a problem with questions and concerns at all. If we get to a point though, but we can't belabor everything for hours and hours. If we get to a point that the board feels like this is not something we can vote on, then we need to not vote on it. We just need to take it off and then bring it back another time to discuss it further. I don't have a problem with that. But we have an allotted time period for an hour and a half. And if we have in my opinion, and it's as the chair, today as the chair, if we have something that we need to discuss and we can't get the answers we need, we don't have to vote on it. We can table it and we can bring it back another time. If the board feels, if every member as a group feels like this is something, and I agree with you, if everyone has these many questions, then we don't have to go to a vote. But we can't sit here and vote and discuss something for 2 and 3 hours unless we schedule it for 2 or 3 hours to vote on it. And that's just the way I look at it. So as far as process, I think we're doing fine. If we get to it, then we don't vote on it. And it's as simple as that. If most of the people feel like we need more time to flesh it out.
All right, so my question would be to the manager or Sarah. Mr. Manager, with this, for especially the new parcel that you just showed east of GTech and the wooded area, as well as really all of this area, have you looked at the environmental overlays, especially the ones dealing with flora and fauna, that can possibly also have some impacts when it comes to cost and development? Has staff looked at those and put those in place? Because you have a lot of significant overlays that the city has put on over the years, especially within the last 10 to 12 years with that. Have you looked at that?
So with regard to the parcel that's just to the west of GTech on there, that will be up to the developer to do during their due diligence period. If they feel that they can't develop, they'll always have an out to walk away from the contract because of environmental concerns or trees are in the way or things along that line. So any purchase and sale agreement is going to have a due diligence period in there that's going to allow them to, go on the property, do their explorations, and determine its viability.
All right, thank you. And Madam Chair, I did want to make a motion after Mr. Palmer. I have a motion.
Well, let's wait until after we get the public comments and all that, please.
Forgive me.
Okay.
Thank
Okay.
you very much. I forgot about that.
Mr. Palmer.
Thanks.
Member Palmer.
I just wanted to, I guess, ask a question. I'm not sure where this should go. I wanted to ask about if we are wanting to bring new business up. It seems like we're, consistently locked into this, but I think one of the things that sounds like the board is kind of consistently around, it might be really, I think a lot of us are really excited to start to try and flesh out some of the bigger projects, especially something like an 8th and Waldo. I don't know when and I know this is a tangent, but I think there's stuff that I think we'd like to, help trying to figure out. And I'm wondering when we might be able to do that.
Okay. Sarah, you want to comment on that? Or?
Sorry about that. So yeah, we will be coming back next month. With that, a big part of what we'll be showing you are what we call project charters, which Mike, it's really an internal document that I don't know that we've ever shared, but we've used it for a long time, and it begins to flesh out all the pieces of each project, including the scope of work, funding sources, partners, that we need to work with in order to make it happen, whether they be all internal or, public-private. It just includes a lot more of the thinking behind what we're trying to accomplish with each one of those initiatives. And so the drafts of all of those will be coming back to you next month. That way you can kind of see what the intentions are, what we're thinking about timeline wise. If you remember, with this whole new roadmap, it goes through 2029. So a lot, I think, of what we're experiencing too right now is kind of the momentum that has been building and being driven by the city and by our commission towards affordable housing. So there are a lot, more opportunities that are coming up, I think, because of that kind of assertive, I don't know what I'm trying to say here, but, because importance has been placed on this, there's a lot of different departments working on kind of moving this piece forward. And then of course, housing's action plan is bringing it to the forefront as well, because that'll end up being, the strategy for the way that the city is going to move forward. So
yeah, that sounds great to me. I'm looking, that sounds awesome that you guys have that. I'm really looking forward to seeing those. I think that'll be really good to help get all of us kind of on the same page and, be able to everybody pull on the same rope. I think we're all working together, and I think that'll be really helpful.
Absolutely.
Great.
Yeah, we look forward to that.
Cool. All right, I'm done. Sorry for.
Okay, so it looks like we have one member of the public, Miss Tana Silver. I'm gonna allow you to talk, and you have 3 minutes. Go ahead, Miss Salt Silver.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, good. I had a little technical glitch last time I tried to speak. I would just like to present a perspective as a longtime Pleasant Street homeowner. And we heard about the Live Work Tiny House project by chance 2 years ago. A CRA person said they hadn't consulted even the FAPS CRA advisory board, and they still haven't brought it to either neighborhood association. But the CRA already had earmarked, I think it was $100,000 for an Orlando consultant and some other expenses. At the same time, WUFT had a story about supposed blight and disinvestment in Porters and Pleasant Street, when that is not true. We've had decades of investment in rehabbing and building actually affordable housing. And I don't know where the top neighborhood concerns came from. In Pleasant Street, we're concerned about demolition, yes, about tree destruction. We're concerned about $300,000 new houses and expensive rentals and losing longtime neighbors. Pleasant Street was the state's first African-American historic district, as you probably already know, but we're wondering if it could lose our standing on the National Register because of demolitions. The city was looking at how to curb demolitions by neglect that benefits speculators, but that was abruptly stopped a few years ago. And I can't speak for Porters, but from what I have heard, residents' top concerns there aren't necessarily those from the UF Narrative Project. Two-story townhouses with two-car garages at 80 to 120% area median income sounds like gentrification. And we've had homebuyer education for decades, but it does no good if people can't afford the homes. The Reinvestment Plan consultant said people want revitalized housing in affordable ranges, and those two projects are not that. The city's renewed push for so-called zoning flexibility and inclusionary zoning runs contrary to that too. There's more to the Portland story that's not so rosy and needs an open-minded discussion. And targeting people who make 80 to 120% area median income is not helping. Those are incomes of almost $40,000 to $90,000, where Schimberg data shows that the need is 50% and less. And that's who is getting priced out of these wonderful high opportunity neighborhoods. And we don't need the city accelerating that out migration. I'm glad to see the city donating properties in Duval, but tomorrow the city commission is going to vote on contracting with a real estate firm to sell city surplus properties at market rate. And those in our high opportunity neighborhoods could be used better as donations. The city's idea of community engagement is a PR campaign after decisions are made. My ask to you would be to rethink the next steps on those two projects and genuinely involve neighborhoods first and put the effort into renovation and preservation where the need is and protecting the neighborhoods. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Silva. Ms. Vidal, would you like to respond to that?
Sure, Ms. Silva. Yeah, we'd love to talk to you about it. One of the things we mentioned in the presentation and last month as well is the desire to get back with the community. And last month we presented the work that had been done so far in the Pleasant Street community. And so all of that was to really understand what would work on that property. It's very problematic kind of property. That's a negative word. There's a lot of opportunity with the property. And so we'd be happy to go over the opportunity with you and sit down and answer any questions that you may have. So feel free to send us an email or give us a call, and we'd love to talk to you about that. So thanks for participating tonight.
Okay, so there's no other public comments, looks like, and no other, we're finished with board member content. So Sarah, or I guess maybe Chelsea, could you put the recommendation back up? Because we've talked about several things and it sounds like we talked about 3 or 4 different things, but I don't remember seeing one recommendation.
Yes, let me. Can you guys see my screen? It's blank for some
Not
reason.
yet.
Okay, let me.
It looks like a black screen.
Yeah.
Okay, one moment, please. It looks like it exited out. My VPN disconnected. I'm gonna have to, if, do any.
Madam Chair, I have a point of
Chelsea,
information
it's
while
not just,
Sarah's doing, while Chelsea's doing that, a point of information for Sarah.
Go ahead, Armando.
Sarah, question for you. Is there a way for us to get, because it's not in the backup, and I think member Dixon's question earlier about what dollars were what, and even though I know Daniel clarified some of it, I'm a person that I like to see it. And right now I'm hearing it, but I'm seeing one thing. And so just while I'm waiting to see the recommendation, but there's just some questions that were lingering from even Mr. Palmer, Member Dixon, and Member Bush that were raised that things I still want to see, if that makes sense.
Go ahead, Sarah.
Sure, Member Grundy. What is it that you would like to see?
I guess the numbers I need to see the numbers exactly. Okay, so I see the recommendation.
Mm-hmm.
And we're not asked to do anything, but we're not. And that's what's really just kind of throwing me through a loop.
No, the recommendation is very specific. It's to approve the GCRA funding for the Northeast 9th Avenue roadway improvements in Duval as described. In the fiscal note, that is the correct account number. The ask is $240,000, the not to exceed amount, so it could potentially come in lower, maybe not. And then that is $240,000 out of the $540,000 currently in the account.
Okay.
And it's community enhancements and housing earmarked for acquisitions and options.
Okay.
So I'm gonna make a comment and then I'm gonna go over to Member Dixon. So it seems to me that this particular portion is the part that we have some of the members, and you all can correct me, issues on, because we don't want to possibly make this recommendation and approve this recommendation because we want to still flesh out of whether this is even one of our priorities right now.
Mm-hmm.
If I'm not mistaken. Member Dixon?
Yes, I'm going to go ahead and put a motion on the table. The motion would be to table this. Well, you can.
Oh, go ahead now.
Well, see if you like it. You can second it or amend it or put in a substitute. It was going to be to request to table this item and ask for staff to come back with our budget status update, the project evaluation criteria for this particular project.
Second.
Information, I'm not done. Information on other eligible projects for the community enhancements and housing initiatives and the project charter for this particular project.
Second.
That's the motion. 4 items.
So that was a motion by Member Dixon and then seconded by Member Grundy Gomez? That correct?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Yes, that's correct. Second.
Okay. Now, I'm not going to be able to repeat that. Did you get that, Tricia?
I can state it again. There were 4 things we're asking for.
Yeah, because
Okay. I could listen to the recording, but if you wouldn't mind repeating it. No.
Yeah, I have it written down so I can read it back.
Okay, good.
4 items to come back with. 1 is the budget status update. That's overall budget status.
Mm-hmm.
The project evaluation criteria for this particular project. Information on any other eligible projects for the community enhancements and housing initiatives, and the project charter for this particular project.
Okay.
Member Dixon?
Okay. Hold on just a second. You've heard the motion and it's been properly seconded. Is there any discussion?
I wanted to offer an amendment.
Okay, so that's part of the discussion. What is your amendment?
Member
What would you
Dixon,
like
if
to
you would be amenable to a friendly amendment, Member Palmer was asking Sarah to bring back also some of the project lists, and I don't know if your motion states that, but some of the big project lists that we can flesh out to bring back to us so that we can start talking and fleshing out bigger ideas, if we can add that to that.
Yeah, I had asked for other eligible projects for the community enhancement and housing initiatives. Maybe it just needs to be other eligible projects.
Yes.
By the initiative, the bucket of funding type.
Yes.
Yeah, bring them back for all. That's a good idea. I'll accept that.
That's all I was going to ask you. If you're amenable to that.
Yes.
So Tricia, you got that?
Mm-hmm. So any other eligible projects under this bucket of funding?
Now, what are all of
projects.
the projects that we had talked about previously and which bucket of funding they might fall into.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, so now we have the motion with the amendment and it's been properly seconded. Do we have any further discussion?
Member Blount has his hand up.
Okay, Member Blount. Is he on mute? No. Looks like he's, gets his hand.
Could we take down this recommendation?
Okay, so let's, did someone just say something? All right, so apparently go ahead, Mr. Blunt.
Stephanie,
Okay.
that was me. That wasn't Member Blunt.
So I don't think, so maybe he might just be having technical difficulties because I see he's not muted. So we're gonna go ahead and move. We've heard the recommendation and we've got the second. So let's go ahead and take the roll call vote.
Okay, Member Braden? Member Blount?
Sorry, aye.
Oh, okay,
That was for me.
gotcha. Member Bush?
Aye.
Member Dixon?
Aye.
Member Fox? Member Grundy Gomez?
Aye.
Member Idy?
Aye.
Member Merritt?
Aye.
Member Mitchell?
Aye.
Member Nielsen?
Aye.
Member Palmer?
Aye.
Chair Seawright?
Aye.
And Member Turner Evans?
Aye.
Okay.
Okay, the motion carries. So we're gonna move on to our next item and final item. Sarah? Hartwood, oh, I'm sorry, Hartwood update Dan Gill.
Thank you, Ms. Seawright. Good evening, board. Give me 1 second. Let me share my screen. Everybody seeing that? Nope.
No, yes, we are now.
Okay. So good evening, board. Give me 1 second, sorry. Excited to bring to you all this Hartwood update and look forward to the discussion after the presentation. I ask that all questions be held till the end, as I'm sure there will be a few. I will take this opportunity tonight to talk through a couple of things, where we are with the model home, the June 16th GCRAB recommendation, GRUCOM, and then I'll introduce Ben, our equity specialist from the Office of Equity and Inclusion, to discuss the Gainesville Racial Equity Toolkit and its findings. So we should all be very proud of what is pictured on the screen in front of you. We have officially gone vertical in Hartwood with a model home. We had our permit issued on June 22nd of this year and broke ground shortly after. The model and the construction is 5C, one of the mid-range designs. The construction is being managed by Shear Construction under the continuing services contract and being built by their subcontractor, Rise Construction. For having the permit issued in late June, these guys are doing really a great job. The model home is just shy of 2,000 square feet, and as you can see, the windows are in, siding is starting to go up, and the roof shingles will be installed in the coming weeks. The 5C model has 3 bedrooms, 2 baths, and a 1-car garage. And we are currently finalizing the interior wood framing with some work left to be done in the kitchen. The AC ducts and the plumbing lines were laid in last week, and the electrical is expected to be roughed in by early next week. And so we're looking forward to being completed with construction around early October. And so once construction is complete, the home will be staged and used as a sales office for the project realtor Team Dynamo. And in the next few months, they will be rolling out their marketing campaign and neighborhood outreach. So this brings us to our main topic of discussion today. At the June 16th GCRA Advisory Board meeting, the recommendation was made for staff to look at ways to reduce HOA dues in the Hartwood neighborhood. And so currently the projected monthly dues per home in the Hartwood neighborhood are $169.42. This price includes neighborhood maintenance, administrative expenses, insurance, utilities, reserve, and GRUCOM internet service. We discussed our numbers with Team Dynamo, and they recommended that for Hartwood to be in a competitive HOA market, we should have a goal of $250 per quarter per home. And that comes out to be about $83 per month. And so being that at Hartwood, the projected HOA dues are nearly double that amount, we looked at what was driving the dues to be so high. And the pie chart, it is clear that the neighborhood maintenance and GRUCOM are contributing the most. So as maintenance is a common cost in HOAs, GRUCOM internet service is not. So as not all present day board members were serving at the time when this decision for GRUCOM was made, I would like to take some time to remind everyone of how we got to this point. Back in July of 2018, the City Commission serving as the CRA board approved a third of the Heartwood neighborhood to be available for down payment assistance. Then in August of 2018, the following month, again, the City Commission serving as the CRA board decides to have GRUCOM 5G internet service be provided in the Heartwood neighborhood. And so following those decisions, concerns were raised by the Eastside Redevelopment Advisory Board and local citizens that the cost of the HOA dues will affect the affordability of homes in Heartwood, and specifically those 11 lots eligible for down payment assistance. And then on November 19th, 2018, the City Commission serving as the CRA board was presented with these concerns and asked to discuss the fiscal impacts and funding sources to provide GRUCOM internet service at Heartwood. And the board voted 4 yay and 3 nay for GRUCOM to remain an internet provider in Heartwood. And with that came a total monthly charge to the Heartwood HOA of $2,124.32. Divide that by the 34 homes, and that's where you get our $62.48 fee added and fixed to the homeowner's monthly HOA dues. We did some research and found other HOA dues for neighborhoods in Gainesville, Grand Oaks with 126 homes, an amenity center and common areas. Their quarterly dues are about $180, which comes out to about $60 per month per home. Abington Oaks with 30 homes, streetlights, underground utilities, $50 per quarter. Hale Plantation on the west side with 850 homes, trails, parks, and playgrounds, about $120 a quarter. So when we look at Heartwood with only 34 homes, a nature trail, stormwater ponds, streetlights, and common areas, we're a little over $500 per quarter. So what we are seeing is economies of scale with the size of neighborhoods and their amenities in proportion to their HOA dues. And this is where Heartwood seems to miss the mark with over $500 in HOA dues per quarter per home. And of those $500, $187 of that is the GRUCOM fee. As we discuss GRUCOM, I think it's important to note that AT&T will be offering their services out at Heartwood, ranging anywhere from $60 to $80 per month per home. And that Cox will also be providing services out there ranging from $100 per month per home. So we looked at the GRUCOM fee and the decision which fixed it to the Homeowners Association dues. Staff use this as an opportunity to utilize new tools that are available to us. Through the Office of Equity and Inclusion, they provided a tool and guide to help staff with this analysis. And this tool was the Racial Equity Toolkit. Chelsea was referring to this earlier. And this toolkit provided a lens to help assess whether the GRUCOM decision was an equitable one. So here to talk through the toolkit and its findings is Ben Hortz from the Office of Equity and Inclusion to guide us through the kit. Ben?
Thanks, Dan. Can everyone hear me okay?
Barely.
All right, let me see what I can do to make myself a little bit louder.
I can hear you. I got you.
Oh, you got me?
Hear you.
Okay, good. All right.
Now.
So good evening. Thank you to the GCRA board for having me. I just want to start by introducing myself. My name is Ben Howard. I work as the equity specialist over in the Office of Equity Inclusion. I've been with the city of Gainesville for about 4 months now. Really want to express my gratitude to the folks over in the GCRA. At the moment, this toolkit is something that's being used primarily for decisions related to COVID. And so they're really kind of a step ahead of a lot of us in terms of their being proactive to seek us out to use this toolkit in this case. And it was really an enjoyable experience being able to work through it with them. So before I jump into the toolkit and what it what it says and the conclusion that the group came to through using it, I just want to mention that the toolkit it's a lens, right? And so we all have many lenses that we see, a particular decision or project through. And the use of a toolkit, the purpose of it is to see when we apply this equity lens, what do we see through it? Ultimately, the recommendation is not a decision that's, of course, in the hands of the board. But I just wanted to mention that as sort of like a metaphor or analogy to think about what we're doing and what I'm presenting now. So the toolkit has 7 questions. I apologize, 8 questions. And I'm just going to kind of quickly go through them. So the first question that we ask is, what are the conditions of well-being that we're trying to get neighbors to experience? We're talking about outcomes. What outcomes are we trying to achieve? So we talked about the GCRA and the condition of well-being being that residents on the east side of Gainesville have access to attainable new construction housing. And the strategy here is to provide market rate and affordable housing within East Gainesville and serve communities that need reinvestment the most. And so some of the outcomes for this particular project for GCRA, as I'm sure you're all aware, are to create these 11 affordable homes with down payment assistance and 23 market rate homes with a newly constructed economically integrated neighborhood. The second question that we ask is, what existing data do we have to rely on? And so for the purpose of this project, the things that we know that the data tells us is that East Gainesville has not seen growth in their tax base, that East Gainesville has had a lack of investment for some time, and that East Gainesville is predominantly Black. And that's something that we look at because we're looking at geography and race as part of what we're trying to isolate by looking at by using this racial equity toolkit. The third question that we ask is, in what ways have we engaged the community on this issue? The commission and the CRA board made this GRUCOM decision. The community was not consulted. The wider community was not consulted on this particular decision. The GCRA advisory board made a motion to rethink ways to provide internet service at a lower rate in attempts to reduce the monthly HOA fees. So that's what the engagement has been so far. The fourth question is, who will experience benefits and burdens of the decision, and how will we mitigate unintended consequences? And this question is really the meat of what we're trying to do by applying this racial equity lens, is trying to see who's going to experience benefits and burdens. And so for benefits, we came up with residents who are looking for the best internet, who can afford that fixed monthly assessment. We also identified GRUCOM as a beneficiary because they'll benefit by increasing their profit base. And it's also an opportunity for them to test how they might provide retail services in their business model. The higher HOA costs will increase the likelihood that home buyers are middle and upper middle class, which demographically is more likely to be white people in Gainesville. The burdens will be prospective homeowners who can't afford high monthly assessments. The next question that we ask is this decision will be accessible regardless of ability or status? Everyone will have equal access to GRUCOM because it will be built into the HOA fee. The next question is, will this support or relief, will this support or this relief specifically address the most marginalized communities affected by COVID-19? This question is in there because this toolkit is currently constructed to be directed at decisions related to COVID-19. So we acknowledge that this is not a decision that's related to COVID-19. That being said, having access to high-speed internet will help homeowners conduct work and school from home during COVID-19, which we're finding out is more and more important. The next question, so we kind of take all of this information, this data that we have, and this assessment of benefits and burdens, and that leads us to this next question, which is, what's your plan knowing all of this? What's your plan for implementation? And so having gone through this toolkit analysis, the recommendation is to preserve homeowner choice by allowing the HOA to vote whether to approve the GRUCOM contract. once the HOA is active and able to make their own decision. And then lastly, the last question of this toolkit is how will you ensure accountability? How will you communicate and evaluate results? That sort of brings us up to this moment in this presentation. And the answer to this question is to present these results of this toolkit to the GCRA Advisory Board for discussion and recommendation, and then ultimately take to the City Commission for review. So that's kind of where we landed with the toolkit. Really appreciate all the time and energy that went into thinking this through. And I hope this is useful for the GCRA board. And with that, I'm gonna pass it back to Dan.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay. Any members? I see one. Mr. Ben, if you don't mind me calling you Ben, was we supposed to see something on the screen besides the toolkit logo? Were we supposed to see the? You were just speaking.
I'm not done yet, Stephanie.
I'm sorry.
Can you hear me?
I can't hear you.
Yeah, we're not.
I think you were supposed to see me, but maybe the screen share was still going, but we didn't have graphics to go with that. That being said, it's in the backup, the toolkit itself with those, what I kind of read through.
Okay, I just want to make sure. Okay, Member Grundy Gomez.
Okay, first off,
Stephanie, they're not done presenting. There's.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry.
All that thought, Member Gomez.
I do have a question for Ben, though. I really do.
But let's just wait till they finish the presentation. I'm sorry. I apologize. I thought it was completed.
Okay.
It's totally fine. You can see me okay? Or at least the
We
screen?
can see the screen, the recommendation.
So this exercise and process was great for staff to work through and be the guinea pigs for. It was great to work with Ben and having his insight and expertise to guide us through this complex issue. The decision to have GrewCom at Heartwood was tough. It was the best decision that was made at the time with the tools at hand. It wasn't an easy decision as the commission was split 4-3. But in light of the Heartwood project starting to pick up pace and as our model home comes online, it is understandable that the board would request we look at the high HOA dues in Heartwood. And when looking at the dues line item by line item, the only wiggle room to reduce cost is with GrewCom. And so staff went back and reviewed the video meetings where this decision was made and saw how concerns expressed by the Eastside Redevelopment Advisory Board, the public, and even by some of you here today were the same concerns highlighted in the equity toolkit. Concerns about choice, fixed costs, and what the city of Gainesville is willing to offer at Heartwood. And so with that, I would like to turn it over to Sarah to say a few words and then open the floor for discussion and request the board provide a recommendation for staff to present to the City Commission. So thanks again for listening. That's our presentation for this evening, and we're here to answer any questions that you may have.
Thanks. I just wanted to say two things. Number one, thanks to Dan for that presentation, and especially Ben for participating, being so new to the city and jumping on our advisory board Zoom meeting is much appreciated. And then also, as he said, working together through this toolkit was really eye-opening for us, and it's a tool that we look forward to using moving forward, and we think it'll be a good litmus test of running all of our projects through, just challenging our thinking on how we can best make equitable decisions for the communities that we serve moving forward. I did want to mention also that the maintenance fees that are in the projected HOA dues will reduce as lots are sold, and so this is pretty much the highest number that we'll have right now, as we are, staff is on the board of the Homeowners Association, and we're getting our hands around these costs. That is a number that will reduce, because right now, if you think about it, we're maintaining all the grassy lots and then all the common areas as well. So I wanted to mention that as well as we move forward, that we'll start getting more in line with the Homeowners Association fees. But as Dan mentioned, this was kind of the one area that we felt that there wasn't complete buy-in, not only from you all, but from the commission as well. And when that motion was made, I can't remember what month it was now. You know, we thought this is a great opportunity to, you know, revisit this and see if it's something that you all would like us to take back to the commission. So the recommendation is for you all to discuss and to create a recommendation that you would like us to move forward to the board. I mean, to the commission rather. Thank you.
Okay, Member Grundy Gomez.
Okay, thank you, Madam Chair. First and foremost, if we could bring up the, Dan, could you please bring up the slide that you had of the costs with GRUCOM, et cetera? You were showing the different ones. Can you please bring that up, please?
Yes, sir.
All right. The other thing is I want to address Ben why he's doing that. Hey, Ben, are you still there? Is Ben
I'm
still
here.
on there?
Yeah. Sorry, I was
Okay.
on mute. Go ahead.
All right. So a couple of things there's a misnomer, and you made a statement in your presentation that East Gainesville is predominantly or is all black, and that is actually not. I don't know where you got that from. The majority of the population of East Gainesville is actually not predominantly black. Just for facts and statistics, that's important because we have to come with facts are an important thing, and we cannot come with stating misfacts like that. The other thing is if we're talking about race and equity and we're giving out statistics like that, it creates, problems. So I know where we're going with that. The other thing is a couple of things where when we came to this idea, because Dan presented the idea, and I'm talking to my colleagues on the board, we came up with this with an idea where race and equity was important. Why did we come up? We wanted this to be a catalyst development, to be a 21st century community, to give it at its best. So for Sarah and Dan, here is some angst that I have and continue to have, and this is this. I talked to Ed Bolarski, and I guess for me as a member of the board, I reached out and I've reached out to some members of staff, and sometimes I don't get the quite feedback or get an answer, or I'm not getting it until just now. But I still want to ask either Sarah or Dan, have we actually had a conversation with Ed Bolarski or with the administrators of GRU about this cost, about not bringing the cost down? And the last time I had a conversation with him, it was no. And I guess so my confusion and consternation with this is we know that if this is GRUCOM and it's at a fixed price, we are much able to better control our costs than we would going through AT&T or Cox, because that's a private entity and for profit. Secondly, the other thing is I want to present an idea because I like presenting solution. I continually talk, and this would probably go to the city manager. If we as a city purchased the building materials for this development, we again control our price points and cost. We can pass those savings along to the buyers. This is how we're able to control price. It's already going to be a problem, and anybody that's a realtor like Mr. Palmer or Ms. Seawright would know that getting appraisals is going to already, I'm sorry, yes, but you understand it, Madam Chair. If we have appraisals is going to be getting a problem. It's going to be a problem. And so for somebody like myself, a veteran who wants to get a home, and certain price points, I get that. I agree with Dan, and Dan, I think you did a phenomenal job on this presentation. You knocked it out the park. Phenomenal job.
Thank you.
I really want us to know that we can do a better job, because when I made that motion last time, it was that we really make a hearkened effort to bring down costs and really make it. And what I'm hearing is we go to our Office of Equity Inclusion or whatever it's called now, and it doesn't seem like we really making an effort to bring down the cost other than identifying the two cost points are GRUCOM and neighborhood and maintenance. Because I can assure you, if we really hearken down and have a conversation with Mr. Bolarski or others, we can really do something magnificent for this community if we really dig in and try. I think we can do that. What are your thoughts?
Okay. Did you want to respond, Dan, or do you?
I would hand that one over to Sarah.
Okay.
I'm sorry, Armando, did you have, is it the question of buying building materials?
Well, yeah, I'll reiterate it. I'm sorry. So, two things, Sarah, is yes, the building materials one, that probably would be more of a city manager for that part, but having a real in-depth conversation with Mr. Bilarski about the cost of GRUCOM and bringing that down, because I do agree that per the face of how many homes we have, it's not conducive, but we can really bring down the cost, being that we can control costs. So having a real conversation with Mr. Bilarski about GRUCOM and bringing these costs down.
So we have had those discussions, not with Mr. Bilarski, but with GRUCOM itself. And our understanding is that there was no wiggle room. We worked really hard to get the best price that we could. And if you look back into the presentation, I think Dan had a slide that showed all the different options that they gave us. But one thing that you'll learn about GRUCOM is that they have a certain business model, and there's not a lot of wiggle room for them within this business model. To us, it's not an issue of cost, because as you can see, the cost is fairly competitive in this model, Armando. I think the point here is that it's the choice, right? It's giving homeowners a choice, and then not socking them with a fixed monthly fee that they don't have a choice.
Good point, Sarah. Good point.
So that's kind of where we focus this, and the lens through which we thought about this as an equitable decision.
And I guess for Mr. Manager, the question about the building materials, is that something we could genuinely look at exploring, if we can get that to the city commission to pass those savings on?
So that becomes tricky now that we have developer builders that can occupy in there, and the pricing. And since we don't have a per square foot price from any of the builders that I understand, and these are all negotiated, I'd have to think through how those savings are passed on to the homeowner and not just increasing the profit of the builder.
You threw a curveball there. Thank you. I can't come back with that.
Sorry, it's baseball season. So
I digress. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, Member Palmer.
Thank you. Yeah, this is a really great presentation. Thank you for putting this together. I'd like to, I'd like to address what I think one part of Armando's point would be. I honestly, from what I understand about cities may not necessarily be the most effective at getting the lowest price for things and lowest price for materials, even if we are buying in bulk. So I think there is a substantial chance that may not even just, that may not necessarily be more profitable for them. To me, as an outside perspective from a realtor, kind of looking at the breakdown of the numbers, I would be absolutely excited to pay $62 a month for GRUCOM internet. As a customer of both AT&T at my house and GRUCOM at my business, I would love to be able to have GRUCOM at my house. It is so much better, so much faster, and at $60 a month, it would be cheaper than what I'm paying for AT&T at my place. I personally don't think it's a problem to go ahead and force people to go ahead and pay for that. I think I think paying for internet and constantly having internet access is something that provides people with all kinds of new work opportunities in 2021. There's so many different remote businesses available that having consistent internet access is, I think, should honestly be a basic right for people. But I think having this at a house like that, already set up in part of their house, is a really great value add for people for, $60 a month internet. My concern, I would like to see what the penalty for non-payment of the HOA dues would be. One of the big problems in housing can be that if somebody doesn't pay their $160 HOA dues, some HOAs have been able to go back and force them to sell and force them to move. And I think that would be, you know, if we are talking about affordable housing, there are going to be people within this who are going to face the issues of non-payment of HOA dues. So I think I'd like to, you know, see what that plan looks like, because I think that may be a way where we could either address those non-paid dues via maybe a lien on the property that stays with the property, as opposed to something that, you know, as opposed to something that gets somebody kicked out. I'm not sure what the best solution is there, but I think we need to consider the ramifications of what happens if somebody doesn't pay, or I'm not sure if you guys have already addressed this, but I think that would be important. So.
Sorry.
I mean, yeah, or if any of you have already had that discussion of what happens if somebody doesn't pay their HOA dues, I'd love to hear that.
So Sarah, can you address that now? If you can't, is that something that you can bring back?
Yes, thanks, Stephanie. So I believe it is addressed in the homeowners association documents and declarations. So we'll have to circle back on that, as I don't have it handy.
Understandable.
Yep, but we'll bring back that information for you.
Okay. Yeah, that would be the most important thing for me to feel comfortable on a motion moving forward. But
okay, Member Dixon.
I've just got a couple of things. On the group comm, I guess it's safe to assume that the infrastructure is already in place. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yeah, so what I'm thinking is the infrastructure is there. People will always have the option. They'll have that available in their neighborhood, whereas a lot of neighborhoods don't have that available. I guess I'm leaning toward the unbundling of that from the HOA and giving people choice. Then they can get that one, or they can get another one, or they can maybe they just can't afford to have internet at all, or let it go for a month or something and then get it back. So I'm more leaning toward the unbundling and having choice. My other question is the streets in the neighborhood, are they private and maintained for that under that maintenance part of the budget, or are they city streets?
They're city streets.
So then my next question is, can the street lights come into play? I know that's only like $16 a month, but the city doesn't often pass along street light expenses on city streets. So could we unbundle that as well?
I think we can look into that as well. We're in a funny situation right now where, as the developer, we are the homeowners association, so things will change. I did want to mention too that, you know, at the end of I think it's when 90% of the units are sold within the neighborhood, then the HOA switches over to the actual owners within the neighborhood, and then they can make their own decisions, you know, as a group, whether they'd like to revisit GRUCOM as an option moving forward. So just because, or if the board decides to make a recommendation and the city commission approves removing that or unbundling, I like that phrase, Linda, then, you know, it will be an option in the future because the infrastructure is there. So I wanted to make that point known as well.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to go ahead and make my comments because they were similar to Ms. Dixon's before I go to the next members. And it has been, since Heartwood has been going on for years, and even when we were seated as the East Side Redevelopment Board, it has always, I agree 100% with Ms. Dixon, it has always been my thing that they have choice. To burn someone, like would probably never want Cox Cable at my house or GRUCOM or whoever it is, but it should be my choice. And I think for me, that was always the heartburn I had about the HOA dues, that there were so many things in there that you're making people get that everybody else in the city, for the most part, is making a choice on. So I agree with 100% with the comments that Ms. Dixon had. I would love to see that stuff unbundled if it could be. I didn't know anything about the lights, but now I know. I learned something. So there's to unbundle some of those things, but definitely it has the the GRUCOM cable, all of that conversation since the day it started has always been heartburn for me, because it just, to me, you're saddling people with a cost, as she said, that number one, they may not want, but maybe at that particular point in time, even though it is, I agree that having internet is important, and having internet helps everybody. But I also know that you can have a cell phone and use the cell phone as a hotspot if you buy the data plan. So it's all different kind of ways that people can have internet in their home. So I agree with those comments, and I'm glad to see, Sarah, that y'all going to look at maybe trying to see if that could come out and give us some possibilities moving forward. But those are just my thoughts. Member Mitchell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. First of all, I'd just like to thank Dan for the presentation. It was great. And thank you, Ben, for the equity tools. I was wondering if it would be possible to get those questions where we could look at them later, because I think they were great ways to think about what we're doing.
That should be.
Member Mitchell, you mean the questions from Mr. Holworth? Oh,
yes.
Is that his list?
Ben
Okay.
Holworth, yes. I would like to get a PDF or something with the question. So in light of those equity tools and looking at the homeowner association fees, I think my thinking is right in line with Member Dixon's, that they should become unbundled, because people come in with different situations, and I'm also hoping that if initially they can't become unbundled from the homeowners association fees, that people that are coming into the affordable portion, maybe I'm thinking that the down payment assistance should be able to help initially. But overall, I do think that choice is a good route for people that may be like, well, I don't need it right now, or I would rather go with this company as opposed to GRU-Com, and so I think that, and then what I've noticed in just regular residential places is that it kind of drives competition, because they're like giving you deals, they're constantly sending you deals in the mail to say that, okay, we're offering this discount, and if you switch over, so I think it's more competition that comes in when you unbundle it that way as well. And so overall, I agree with Michael that the expectation, in terms of where we are now as a society, that we're going to want to have internet. And so the infrastructure being there is definitely a stability of it always being available, but for people's changing situations and circumstances, I'm definitely in favor of eventually, if not initially, making it where it could be choice. And so I would be interested in follow-up from staff to hear an answer on that, whether or not we can unbundle it. And also if down payment assistance will help people initially with being able to take care of that housing association fee.
Thank you, Member Mitchell. Member Turner Evans.
Stephanie, can you hear me?
Yes, we can, hon.
All right. Thank you. So I do echo the sentiments of, I would say, the last 3 or 4 board members, and as a real estate investor as well, I know that HOA fees sometimes do skyrocket. So we've seen with the breakdown of the HOA fees that there was an amount for reserves. It was only about $2 as factored in, but the reserves are very important so that if something happens in the neighborhood, that pool of money is what pays for the cost. However, sometimes when that reserve fund is not large enough, the HOA fees will rise. So I think this goes back to, I believe Sarah mentioned that the HOA fees will go down. I haven't ever seen HOA fees go down, but I'm glad to hear that that's what's supposed to happen. My fear is that down the road, 5 years or so, that they go back up to 169. And not to say that it's going to happen in 1 year's time, but over the course of time, HOA fees typically do increase as opposed to decrease. So I think that's one of my major concerns, and I'm definitely for the unbundling of services as well. Thank you.
Okay, Member Fox.
Good evening, Madam Acting Chair. I have some concerns about this, and I think I addressed it with the City Commission way back. But I need this question. Who paid for the infrastructure for the cable and stuff for GRU? Did that come out of funding from the GCRA funding?
Yes, it did.
And how much was that?
Oh, I can't recall at the moment. We can get that information and circle back with you. It was under a separate approval from the City Commission to move forward.
That was millions. It was millions of dollars. I remember that. I was at the meeting. And those millions could have been used to build less expensive homes. Now, the least expensive home, as I recall, is about $200,000.
No, we will get the pricing when the contractors actually bid on the house. So we only have any pricing that you've seen was based on pre-construction conceptual appraisals.
So you're saying it could be less than 200,000?
Oh yeah, yeah, because there are 12 different models that range in square footage and size and features.
Okay, the other thing I feel that is not for affordable housing. I don't think it's meant to be affordable housing because the average person in our community in Lincoln Estate and places like that is about $15 an hour. When you multiply that times 12, I think it comes to like 20 something. Then you have to deduct insurance. You have to your pension and all of those. So none of the homes, in my opinion, and I was hoping they were going to be affordable, but let's call it like it is. It's not affordable. And then you're going to tack on that $260 for the homeowners and the cable company. I think that is absolutely ludicrous. You're preventing people, common people who work at the for the city and who drive buses and teachers as well. They cannot afford it. So it's not affordable at all. So we need to not say it's affordable housing because it's not. And I think we need to unbundle all of that stuff. And that $160, is that a month or a year for the homeowners association?
Per month.
Per month? Oh God,
Yes, per month.
No. If a person is paying $800 a month, and that's what the average cost is going to be for a mortgage, and then you add in telling them they must pay the $160 and they must pay whatever else, $60 for the cable. Yeah, come on, let's be real. Let's be real. You are barring common people, hardworking people from buying a house in that neighborhood because they won't be able to afford it. Okay, I'm done. Thank you. This is terrible.
Thank you, Member Fox. Member Grundy Gomez.
Yes, ma'am. I was going to address some of Member Fox's points, but just to remind everybody that when we were the Eastside Development Advisory Board, we have 11 homes that were deemed affordable. So no, Member Fox is indeed correct. It's not all affordable, but there are some are quote unquote affordable. The other thing was, Madam Chair, I do agree with my colleagues. I think right now, members need a choice. People that live there need a choice. If you have a choice, you can better make it. And I think what we should be saying is we should let the homeowners that are going to be living there decide what it is they want to do. And so I'm in agreement with my colleagues. And therefore, Madam Chair, I want to move that we allow the homeowners to decide who are going to allow, what they're going to select as far as it's going to be their provider for internet service, that we indeed, quote, unbundle the services. So I move that, number one, I move the recommendation that we move staff to push to unbundle the services and allow the homeowners or the HOA and members of the homeowner association to decide what they want to do as far as deciding what they want to do, is accepting what provider will provide their internet services, et cetera, for at this time.
You've heard the recommendation. Do we have a second?
We have a member of the public who'd like to comment, and also a couple more board members with hands up.
Yeah, but he has a recommendation on the floor, so they can either second the recommendation or not second it, and it dies, and then we can come back later. But right now, there's a recommendation on the floor. So we have a recommendation. Do we have a second?
I second it.
Thank you.
Okay, it's been moved and properly second. You want to do a roll call, Tricia?
I think we have to have discussion, Madam Chair.
I'm sorry, discussion. Thank you. I'm getting a little tired. Sorry about that. Do we have any discussion? So on this recommendation, I'm gonna. Okay, wait a minute. Let me see. So, Mr. Palmer, I'm gonna let you go. If you have a comment on the recommendation.
Yes. My comment on the recommendation, I probably wouldn't be in support of any motion about what to do with the HOA fees.
It's not impacting recreation.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I probably wouldn't be in support of any motion regarding any of the HOA fees until I see what the penalties are for non-payment of those HOA fees. If we force people to pay them and there's light slap on the wrist payment, issues for them to not pay if they don't pay their internet, I don't think that I really have any issues with that. I would worry that because of the way GRUCOM works and typically funds things, I would be worried if we don't make mandatory internet payments from a group of people, then we would be forcing everybody else to have to be paying higher. So if only half of the neighborhood signed up and agreed for it, GRUCOM rates might be $75, $80. So to me, I think the most important thing for me to support any motion would be to see what the penalties are for the HOA.
Okay, let me ask this, Mr. Member, Jacob. Did you want to comment on this motion?
I had a question. I think Member Palmer kind of answered it. It's more like, if we don't do the GatorNet, they'll never have the option to do it. Because I've lived all over Gainesville and I've never had the option to have it. So I'm wondering if I don't really know what my question is, but I feel like Member Palmer's kind of comments kind of answer where I'm at.
Okay. Ms. Turner Evans, did you have a question on this particular motion?
Yes, Madam Chair. So it is in regards to the motion that's on the table now, but with I guess an amendment to it, to have a cap on the amount that the HOA can rise, because that's one of my biggest fears, further down the road. So Member Grundy Gomez, and I don't know if it already has a second there. Is that something that we can do?
You can ask him would he like to amend his motion.
I think Member Turner Evans, a couple of things. I think with respect to, you just heard some concerns about controlling what those costs are and not knowing what the penalties are. I think we're putting the cart before the horse. Not that I'm not amenable to what you're saying. I don't think we have enough understanding of what that's going to look like. And we're operating in a big hypothetical. And so to try to meet the happy medium here, the real angst, at least when I thought for Member Fox, was her concern was she had a problem with us sticking into it. So I'm kind of confused in what hers is now. It seems like she does want it or doesn't want it. And so I thought the issue really was that we're forcing it upon them. So now we're not forcing it upon them. we still have the infrastructure that's there. So if people choose to want to have internet, they're not forced to right now with this motion. So we're not forcing them to. The infrastructure is there. So it's like, if you want to plug in and play, you can plug in. So I'm amenable to your motion, but I think maybe you might want to offer a substitute motion after we vote this up or down. But I'm open to it with hearing other members of the board. That's what I'll say to you. How about that?
Okay, so he's not accepting the amendment at this time. So, Member Dixon, are you speaking to the motion?
Yes.
Go ahead.
I wanted to respond to Jacob, and I think Armando just did too. Actually, I just want to make sure you caught that. So the infrastructure is there. So people have that option. So they can always buy into it. And that's also probably a good marketing for the neighborhood too, to be able to say.
So no matter, even if we don't force them to do it, they can still get it on their own.
Correct.
It would be a little more expensive than $62, but the choice is still.
Yeah.
We don't know that.
I don't know what the going rate is, but the infrastructure will be in front of their house. They can opt into it. Yeah.
Okay.
And but my comment, I was going to ask for an amendment to the motion to add taking out the utilities for the street lights, because if those are city maintained streets, the street light should be part of that, and that expense is typically borne by general revenue.
I'll accept that.
Maintained streets.
I'll accept that.
So Mr. Grundle has accepted. Mr. Mitchell made the second. Do you accept that, Mr. Mitchell?
I do accept that.
Okay. So, all right. Oh.
Question for point of information, Madam Chair.
I see you, Mr. City Manager. I want to grab. I'm trying to get it. Member Fox, hold on a minute. Did you want to speak more on that motion?
Muted.
Okay. Maybe she did. Armando, did you raise your hand again?
Yes, I did. But I think Member Fox was just chiming in.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Member Fox.
She's on mute.
She's on mute. Member Fox, we need you to hold on. I get off.
I think. Okay, I have.
Yeah.
Okay. I will not support that motion. I think we are putting the cart before the horse. We need to wait and see what the price range of the homes are going to be. And then we can calculate the mortgages. Because it may be more than anybody out there, unless you're bringing in a bunch of rich people. But in that neighborhood, I'm thinking people who are medium range income would love to live there. But we're forcing them out by putting all of these fees, street light, and then you're talking about the 106. That is utterly ridiculous.
Evelyn.
So I support this, and my phone is about dead, so I'm going to hang up now.
Why are you going to hang up?
All right.
I have no more bars.
Oh. She's not hanging up because she wants to. She's hanging up because she said she might be dead. So I'm going to go ahead and switch this over to Mr. City Manager.
I had my hand up, Madam Chair.
I don't see it.
I had it up. I pulled it down, but I had it up. Madam Chair.
Go ahead, hurry up.
I think the point to address it is we're not putting the cart before the horse. We're addressing. We're not forcing. Before, if we kept everything status quo, we are now forcing a price point. Now we're removing that. It's a stopgap. So we're giving people the choices, which is what everybody wants. If we keep this in place, we're now putting the cart before the horse because we know nothing. And to Evelyn's point, we're right. So with this, with Member Turner Evans's input and with Member Dixon's input and Member Ides' input, we now all have said, we're going to give people a choice. So we're not sacking them with fees. So now it's going to be $62 less and going to be more right around what it should be rather than sticking them with costs, and maybe even a little bit less because of streetlights. If the manager can take on the price of streetlights or GRU can, what have you. So I agree with Evelyn, but I think that she was missing a bigger point, Madam Chair. That's all.
Okay. Mr. City Manager, Mr. Feldman, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure I understood the motion. The motion that I'm hearing is you're going to recommend to the City Commission that GRUCOM is not the exclusive provider of internet at the Heartwood subdivision. And further, you're going to ask the HOA to consider other ways to mitigate the costs, such as transferring, talking with the city about transferring obligations from the HOA to the city. On there, I just want to make clear that the HOA is a separate entity that we, the city, and you as the advisory board can only talk to and ask, but they have an independent fiduciary role at this point for that they have to act on behalf of the HOA. So we can't mandate that they do anything. We can certainly have those conversations, but the real intent here was to make a recommendation to the city commission that GRUCOM not necessarily be the exclusive provider of internet service, correct?
Correct.
Okay, I just wanted to make sure we're all on the same page.
And I think the other part of the motion is that the city would pick up the streetlight utility costs as they do on other city streets.
Well, I think just a matter of nuance. I think the recommendation is for the HOA or for the city to discuss with the HOA, because again, the HOA is the one that ultimately has to set the rate, not the city and not the department or the advisory board or even the commission. So
you're talking about as a matter of process?
Yes.
Okay. Well, should we amend our motion, Madam Chair, for that then? Because of that point?
I don't see why we need to. I mean, we know the intent of it, and I mean, I know it's different groups, but the HOA is also on this call because the HOA right now is the CRA. So,
Madam Chair, if I may, can I ask for?
I don't think that. Excuse me. I don't think that was. I don't think what Mr. Feldman explained really changed what the motion was.
Yes, ma'am.
It's just a process that we need to understand.
I wanted to offer one more amendment and see if Member Mitchell and Member Dixon were amenable to it. One more amendment.
Okay, hold on just a minute before you do that, because I'm looking at Daniel. Do you have your hand up?
I just want to clarify that when we say that the infrastructure is in the ground, is that we have the actual pipes that are under the streets, and that the cable is not physically in those pipes. When the GRUCOM contract is executed, then GRU will come in and put the wire through. And I'm bringing this up because I heard Ms. Dixon say that, when the house, if they decide that, they can then just plug in. And it is part of the deal that we're getting from GRUCOM is the fact that it is a bundle service. And so if that is not agreed to, then GRUCOM will not be offered at Heartwood.
So point of information, Dan, point of information. So if that's the case, remember Dixon, that now changes the ball game, because that means anybody else that comes in to provide internet service, that changes the ball game completely, because Evelyn made the statement that it was already in the ground and was charged for it. And I thought Sarah made the statement that it was already in the ground. So here's my point. Let
me clear that up for a second. Yes,
I'm confused. You're confusing the heck out of me now.
No, the conduit is in the ground already, and that was paid for when the site contractor was developing the site, and that was, as somebody was asking for the number, that was roughly about $42,000 in conduit that went into the ground already, and that has been paid for already. Just to be clear.
Has the fiber been put in the ground?
Not from GRUCOM. The AT&T fiber is in the ground.
Okay, so based on that, so if GRUCOM was to be put into the ground, there would be an added cost then for that. So right now, there's no added cost because AT&T already has it. So I still think we need to stick with the motion and allow for choice.
If I may, Stephanie, I misunderstand, so I appreciated that you clarified that, because I asked that question early on in the conversation, was the infrastructure already there? And the answer, as I understood it, was yes. So thanks for the clarification.
Welcome, Ms. Dixon.
Member I.
Yeah, so now it seems like there is no choice but AT&T, which happens in every neighborhood I've lived at. They just jack up your prices. Like, I don't know, but if we go with GatorNet, they have to do GatorNet. So either way, we're providing no choice.
So there was, I think there might have been something lost also when Ben was speaking, where it was more of putting the decision for executing the GRUCOM contract on the HOA when the HOA is transferred to the residents of the neighborhood. When it's 90% built out, that comes out to about 30 homes, and then the HOA transfers to the residents, and then at that time, the residents can go ahead and execute the contract if they decide as an HOA that they want to do that, and then GRUCOM can then come and install the actual wire and go in through the conduit.
It sounds like we may need to table
Wait a minute. I'm gonna need y'all to raise your hands because I got people in the queue that's waiting. So I got Member Dixon, and then I have the city manager, and then Michael Palmer. And then, so make sure you put your hands up. Go ahead, Member Dixon.
Okay, I think we were kind of going on the line I was heading down, which is, do we know if the GRU fees are not part of the HOA fee, will they just back away and not install, or will they go ahead and put that in and include that neighborhood in their service area? Do we even know what their intent would be if they did not have the exclusive? And I guess it wasn't necessarily exclusive. If AT&T already went in, maybe it was always supposed to be that there was an option. I don't know.
Can Daniel or Sarah, anybody answer that?
I'm here. Yeah.
This is confusing.
So we did a, back at the point where we had to make a decision about what could go on the ground, the commission had not made this decision about to go with GRUCOM exclusively. So my understanding is that the monthly price that was negotiated included running the fiber and connecting to the houses. So that is like an all-inclusive number. So the option would still be there, is what we were trying to say, because there is room for them to go in, but it would have to be made at such time where the HOA was, over 90% of the homes were sold, the HOA is made up of the homeowners, and then they would negotiate, because it's not, GRUCOM doesn't do like, hey, I need internet, come over, I'd like, to set up service. It's a commercial model. And so they would be looking for the homeowners association to make a unanimous decision in order to come in and finish that. But yes, you're right. I mean, it's wrapped up in that monthly fee, and that would be negotiated at that time. So whether or not they would still get that rate, we're not sure.
Okay. Mr. City Manager?
I was just going to comment too that we need to be cognizant that until we get to the 90% mark of ownership, the new homeowners are still going to need to have service on there. And if that's ultimately provided by AT&T in the interim, they may end up getting locked into some sorts of contracts. So we're going to have to work through that issue as well.
Thank you. Member Grundy Gomez's hand is up.
I guess at this point, Madam Chair, I want to get hear from Member Dixon and Member Mitchell, because I'm a little more uncomfortable now with what we have a lot more variables that I thought where we still don't have the information, and I feel like we need to table this until we have more data and input. No pun intended, but it still feels like we don't have the complete picture of what we need. And I'm wondering if Member Mitchell or Member Dixon, are you comfortable with me tabling this?
Well, I think because we already have a motion and second, we have to take it to a vote. And then if it's voted down, then you can make the other recommendation, if I'm not mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that's what we got to do. So wait a minute. Mr. Mitchell has his hand up. Go ahead, Mr. Mitchell.
Thanks, Madam Chair. I'm amenable to going ahead and voting, but I will just make my thoughts clear, is that now that this added, I guess, more clarity on what they meant by infrastructure was made clear by Dan. It's more complicated now, and the point that Sarah made is that they're more set up for commercial. They don't really do piecemeal. to me, that's going to be more of a nuisance to them, and that would probably affect price much more when you piecemeal, and a company is more adapted to doing something on a commercial scale. And and when we look at this equity model, that's definitely not in the best interest of what we're trying to do. And so it's becoming less favorable with that point. Just to let you know what I'm thinking. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay. Thank you, Member Mitchell. So we have a motion and a second on the floor. I don't remember what it is. Trisha, could you read the motion?
So I have, the motion is to allow the homeowners to decide who their internet provider will be. So we'll remove GrewCom from the HOA fees.
Is that sounds good to you, Mr. Grundy Gomez and Mr. Mitchell? Who was the second?
That's what I'm motioning.
Okay. So
yeah.
we got a motion and
along with the street lights as well.
Oh yeah, they did add the street lights. Even though we know that's a process thing, that's not necessary.
I understand, but
okay. Okay. So we had a motion and a second. Trisha, do a roll call, please.
Okay, Member O'Brien. Member.
Yeah. So I'm here, but real quick, I'm sorry. Are we going to wait for more information on this, or are we just voting for it and just going to let this rip? I thought we were going to try and get some more info before we. So should I vote?
We have a motion and a second on the floor, Ms. Evans, so we have to vote. So if it gets voted down, then we could do it again and ask for the extra information. But we have to vote on what we have right now.
Okay, thank you. I vote nay.
Okay.
Okay. Member Blount. Member Bush.
Aye.
Member Dixon.
Aye.
Member Fox.
I think she's off the call.
Okay. Member Grundy.
Aye.
Member Ivy.
Nay.
Member Merritt.
Aye.
Member Mitchell.
Nay.
Member Nielsen.
Aye.
Member Palmer.
Nay.
Member Seawright.
Aye.
And Member Turner Evans.
Think she's gone.
Yeah.
Nay.
No.
Oh, she's here.
Okay. What was that? I'm sorry. Was that a nay?
Yes.
Okay. So we have 5 nay, 6 aye.
Okay. All right. So we have that. So is there any other discussion? Any other? I see I got one hand. Any other discussion? Before I think that's the last thing. We don't have any other business. Armando, member Grundy Gomez, go ahead.
On that point, back to, if we're still on that topic, I also want to move that we get more information back from the city manager about seeing if it is, since the HOA is also, we're also the developer, if we can get information back about how we can purchase the supplies at, because we would get them at cost with about a 20% reduction and pass that savings on. Correct. We would get it at cost and we would pass that on to them. But if we could get some information back from staff about how we could do that, since the developer is also us, from the manager and staff, if we can get that back and pass those savings along to the home buyer, I move that we could explore that.
Do we get a second?
Second.
Did we get one? I can't.
Member Merritt seconded it.
Okay, Member Merritt. Any discussion?
I'll let somebody else go.
Mr. Palmer?
Yeah, I guess I had a question pertaining to something else, but I'll address this motion. Sorry, no, I'll address this motion. I really think there's, looking into the prices of what the materials are at, that's a little bit of that is where the contractors are going to make up their margins. I don't think there's, to be honest, I don't think there's much real value from the city trying to come together and buy it versus, and because there's all kinds of hurdles that would come in for the contractor if they, if they need materials they don't have, this, that, and the other, and the contractors have worked in their budgets, and I think logistically it's just honestly too complicated to be feasible. That's just my my opinion on it. But
Thank you.
Okay. So we have a motion on the floor and a second. Trisha, you want to call the vote? I mean, that was I'm sorry. Any more discussion?
Madam Chair, I was
no
actually
hands.
just gonna, Madam Chair,
Uh-huh.
I actually was just going to withdraw the motion.
You have to ask Christopher, does he mind? Because it's a
Member Mary,
motion.
are you okay with withdrawing the motion?
I'm fine.
All right.
I can't hear him. What
He said he was fine.
Okay. So, Mr. Palmer, you had something else that you wanted to ask before that motion.
yeah, I guess I don't know if I need to make a motion for this, but the most important thing to me about this, whether the HOA fees are $1 a month, no matter what they cost, I think the most important thing is finding out the penalties for non-payment of it. The last thing we would want somebody to do in something that's an affordable housing or promoting equity is to lose their house because they missed an internet payment or they missed an HOA thing. That's
okay.
So I don't know if I need a motion to.
I don't think you do. I think you've already asked that, and I think Sarah and them have taken that into advisement, and she was gonna check in with the HOA and bring that back to us. So we don't need a motion on that.
Okay, great.
We don't need a motion on everything. We can just hope. We can ask the staff for stuff and hope that they be willing to give it to us.
Okay, thanks.
Jacob Ide.
Hi, I'd like to just talk about Member Fox's point. Is there a way we can define what affordable housing is? So in the future, when we talk about affordable housing, we all know it means like $100,000, or finding a mean or an average wage of Gainesville citizens.
It's normally recognized as 30% of the AMI, if I'm not mistaken. That's the definition. Everybody throws the word affordable housing around, and it means something different to everybody. But according to what HUD has, if I'm not mistaken, it's 30% of the AMI. And I think we got housing people on here who can. Is Helen still on here? No, she's not. Well, we don't have housing people on here, but I'm pretty sure it's 30% of the AMI. As the one that the industry looks at.
Right, because in Dan's presentation, that mid-range house is $180,000, I believe.
Mm-hmm.
Which, I don't know, that's struggling for a lot of people. That's for a mid-range. I mean, for probably a greater percentage of the Gainesville to be able to afford a $180,000 house.
Yeah, I have to say I agree. I've always agreed. To me, and I've been very clear about my opinion about Hardwood, and I've worked there. So what it started out and what it ended up morphing to is two different things. So we're here now. So we have those 34 homes, and of those 34 homes, there are 11 that, if I'm not, and Mr. Feldman or Sarah or Dan, anybody can say that there are 11 that's truly going to be that affordable housing component, and that's the component that the housing division is going to be reaching out to persons and helping them apply for SHIP dollars and those type of things. But the other ones is market rate for the most part, because you've got 12 different blueprints, and you choose the house you want. So the cost of those houses are going to be whatever the person who buys a lot, whatever they build. And I think I want us to be clear on that, because that whole subdivision is not affordable housing as the 30% of the AMI. It's not going to be. But those 11 houses will probably be, because they have to go through the housing department, and they're going to be providing down payment assistance and SHIP dollars. Now, from last I heard, that's where we are now, unless something changed. Mr. Palmer, go ahead.
I guess I'd like to ask if we could get staff to prepare a document for us. I think it sounds like one of the biggest, I guess, stumbling blocks we're having is being able to show what people can actually afford, how that process would look. So say somebody qualifies for SHIP. I think we'd like to see an example of, what kind of income the typical home buyer might make to qualify for the lower income housings, because a single person income $15 an hour, it's going to be very difficult to qualify for 180,000 house, but they might get fairly close. They might qualify at 100. I'm not sure what those. I know those. Say somebody was going through an FHA loan and they could only put a small percentage down and they qualified for the SHIP. How far does that get somebody? So if we could show, examples of the types of income that people might be able to need to have to do that, because there's, you can get loans up to, 40-something% of your income, assuming you don't have a ton of debt, that can get you pretty far, that might get people pretty close to these houses, even on relatively limited income.
I think, if I may chime in here, I think it's also important to keep in mind that there's only so low of a cost that these houses can be built at. And, banks, at no point along the supply chain, whether it's on the mortgage side or the building side or anything, are a lot of organizations going to be charitable in what they charge us to get this stuff done. So, it is important that these places are affordable, or that we know who they're affordable for. But we've also got to keep in mind that builders aren't going to build them at a loss. And, to the degree to which the CRA can subsidize this stuff, and I don't really know that much about how, if the CRA is subsidizing the building costs of these things, but if that's the case, then that certainly makes it more affordable. But I don't know if that's within the responsibility of the CRA or not.
Okay, thank you. So let me say this, and because my time is all confused when we were 4 different boards and when we became one, so I don't know when information was provided and when was it. But there was a presentation that did just what Mr. Palmer is asking. It showed, I think Housing did a presentation. It showed what the SHIP process was, how they went about it, the different things. So what I'll do is I'm Sarah, are you still here? I'm gonna ask Sarah if she can find that presentation and that information and get it to our membership, because I think I don't think that, I hope that's not a problem. Get it to everybody so everybody can have it in hand, so everybody can hold on to it and keep it. So some of these documents and stuff and these presentations we need to hold on to them so we can refer back to them, so we don't keep getting in the circles of what I feel like right now we're doing, of getting bogged down in information we already got and probably just forgot. So is Sarah, is that okay? Can we get that?
Yes,
maybe we can't. Oh, did she say yeah? Yeah. Okay, so we'll do that. It's getting late, good people, and I really like all of y'all. I do. I really, y'all are my other family. But I think if there's further discussion, I think we need to go ahead and close this meeting out. I think our next meeting is scheduled for September 15th, and it will be also virtual. This was probably the new normal for probably, at least I'm thinking probably to the end of the year. But September 15th is our next scheduled virtual meeting, and we should have all the information and that we have requested. We want to make sure we get all of that prior to the meeting so people can look at it and we can review it. So when we come back to have these discussions, we'll all be prepared. One of the things I can't remember what it was, but on one of the minutes, I didn't discuss it when we approved the minutes because it wasn't that big of an issue, but I want to make sure that we make sure whatever we do, we make sure we spell it out in the minutes. I think one of the things said something was approved, but it didn't say what it was. But I can't remember. I was just reading it briefly. And when I find it, Trisha, I'll point it out to you. But so for the good of the order, we are adjourned.